So we're heading into summer and it's a Tuesday night. And where else would you be other than with us here in Gantry TV for a brand new season of the RTA Virtual Motorsport Championship in association with Motorsport.ie. My name is Kevin Galvin, and with myself and Evan Walsh and indeed Ronan Hederman in the background, we'll once again be guiding you through what is set to be another fantastic season. Last season, Jason Smith proved a new side of himself, or showed us a new side of himself. A calm, composed, and consistent Jason Smith running away with the title in the V4 Championship, not without plenty of incidents along the way. This time, we swap to the tin tops, the touring cars, the front wheel drive cars, and what would I say, a mirror of this year's British Touring Car Championship season. We head to every single track and every single round of the BTCC season as we head towards another fantastic summer of on-track racing. So, as we begin our season, we begin in the town of West Kingsdown in the county of Kent of the famous Brands Hatch Circuit. We're in the Indy variation today as we head down Paddock Hill, that famous downhill swooping curve towards Druid's Hairpin, and then that left-hander along Cooper Straight before you head to Clearways and around the Clark Curve. Finish a short lap here of Brands Hatch, 1.944 kilometers, only 6 turns, and a race lap record of Scott Mansell of 38 seconds. So very quick lap times we're expecting here, but of course slightly slower in the tin tops nonetheless, as we look forward to the first round of what is set to be another incident-packed season here at RTA. As I said, my name is Kevin Galvin, and I'm joined as ever by Evan Dalton. I think I got that wrong the first time. Here at Brands Hatch Indy. Evan, very high track temperatures. Again, we'll get to that in a second, but very much my pleasure to have your company once again this evening.
Thank you very much, Kevin Canan. It's a pleasure to be back here in Brands Hatch. It's a pleasure to be back for RTA. It's the Brands Hatch Indy circuit, which I think is the shortest circuit we've been at in quite some seasons, but it is the RTA Virtual Motorsport, or Motorsport.ie British Touring Car Championship. And the interesting thing now is, for the first time I've ever been here in RTA anyways, we have multiple cars out on circuit, multiple different type of cars I should say. We've 4 different cars out on track. This should be a very interesting one.
Yeah, it's going to be really good. It adds an extra little bit of spice to it. Of course, my favorite, my baby, the car I spent 4 hours in last Saturday finishing the first round of the iRacing VLN. The Audi RS3 is on there. You have the Hyundai, you have the Honda Civic, and forgotten the last one now. That is top of my mind.
2
I'm
Hyundais.
sure the 2 Hyundai. Sorry, yeah, you've the Elantra and the other one as well. So yeah, obviously front wheel drive. A lot of them. Very very different style of driving. I love touring cars, I have to say. I've had an infatuation with them ever since I took a touring championship. And therefore Donington being one of my favorite tracks, which is where that game began. For people of a certain vintage, the Super Touring era was the only show in town back when Formula One wasn't the giga monstrosity that it is now. British touring cars was the place to be, and it's fantastic, Evan, to have such a wide variety of different cars, and of course, to see cars that actually look like road cars but performing out on track.
Yes, it is. They're a very easily accessible car. You would think, obviously, motorsport nowadays in theory isn't like that, but they look like they're easy to drive. As Conor Melia's almost spun around just about said that. What a crack at start of the season, folks. We are back. But they're a fabulous, fabulous car. Not the quickest thing in the world, but they are definitely one of the funnest cars to race. We can have a little bit of a nerd out of the inner workings of these machines a little bit later on, but qualifying is underway and we have a fantastic grid of cars tonight. A lot of drivers returning from last season, some drivers returning from many moons ago, and a couple of debutants as well, so should be a very fun night altogether.
Yeah, it should be a brilliant one. I'm really interested in some of the faces we have on the back of some of the cars. We might talk about that over the course of the season. So I'm just looking at that livery there. Yeah, so I suppose, look, pick out your favorite face, really, is the question here. Lots of recognizable faces here on the back of the number 42 car. I'm trying to see who that's driven by. I don't have my live
Evan
timing
Walsh.
with me at the moment. Oh, yeah, well, of course it would be Evan Walsh, yeah. Great to see Evan back as well, lads, by the way. And the return of Oscar Mangan, too. So a couple of stalwarts rejoining us once again. And a familiar name in the shape of Dempsey, but we're not talking about Keith Dempsey here. We're talking about Danny Dempsey, who's running the Audi RS3 for Turn 3 Motorsport. So, yeah, it'll be very, very interesting to see how he gets on. But really, Evan, we're talking about the return of a lot of the guys that we have come to love and learn over the last couple of seasons. One name I don't see there, however, is our reigning champion.
Yeah, Jason doesn't fancy it this season. Obviously, Jason is he's very, very fond of single seaters. Tin top's not really his thing. He seemed excited to try these TCRs, but he's not on the grid for it this evening. But we won't miss him too long because I'm sure he will be back eventually. He usually likes to reappear. But current quickest is Wayne Douglas. Just a little bit on Danny Dempsey, then making his debut here in RTA Virtual Motorsport. Obviously, we know his father Keith and his uncle Peter. I think it's his uncle Peter, anyways. He's racing in karts this season in real life and is trying the TCRs here. He's racing in the All Ireland Rotax Max Championship with, of course, as Kevin said, Turn 3 Motorsport. And he had a little bit of a Spanish trip away towards the end of last season, racing in the Miami World Finals in Valencia before it unfortunately got flooded. So decent last year for Danny. He's looking to kickstart things this season with a bit of success in sim racing. Let's see how he gets on. He has a tough grid to go up against. He's one of two Dempseys actually, as Emma Dempsey fancies a return this season. Late entry for Emma, but she's here nonetheless.
Yeah, great to see her back. And I suppose the thing about these tin tops is they suit some people, they don't suit other people. So personally, it's a car I absolutely love driving. I really get on with it in a way that I don't really get along with the single seaters. So it's great to see RTA shake things up a little bit, and hopefully we'll see some maybe different names at the top of the leaderboard, people who kind of get along with this car a little bit more. Those of you from the DM days will remember that Naveed Hussain was an absolute wizard in these TCR cars. He was really quick in the TCRs and he was really quick in the V8s. So both of these cars require a certain style of driving. If you can get on with them, then great. If you can't get on with them, they're very, very difficult to drive, because if you can't manage the back of them, then you find it really, really difficult. So as we've just seen there with a perfect example by the number 4 car, that is of Peter McCann. Peter once again showing us how not to take a left-handed or a right-handed corner. But yeah, it's the thing about these TCRs is once you start to lose the back end, your natural inclination is obviously to step in the brake, but that's the last thing you should do. What you need to do is you actually need to pin the throttle, and the car will kind of start to right itself. It just depends on whether you have the space to do that or not. In Peter's case, you could see there coming out of the paddock hill bend that he was able to kind of pin it through the gravel and keep the car in a straight line. But it does kind of, as I said, requires a very different sort of set of instincts to drive this car. So be interested to see who gels with the car earlier on. But you can see that Ronan Darty and Wayne Douglas already up the top of the timing tables.
Yep, how to save a front-wheel driven car, slam the throttle and say a prayer. That is what Peter tried to do, and it did so pretty well. Just quickly on Naveed Hussain, you might be wondering why he's not racing with us. Well, the doctor, unfortunately, had to have a trip to the doctor. He's suffering with a little bit of a back injury, but he is entered for this season, so we do expect to see Naveed and Jason Cooper at some point, because Jason is a little bit of a weapon in TCR cars as well. We had a look at all the faces on the back of his car of the Tipperary man Evan Walsh. Evan, thankfully, or sorry, I should say thanks to Evan, provided us with a hot lap, Kevin, for this track, so we don't have to look at the back of it. We can thankfully look from the front at a lap of this Brands Hatch Indy circuit.
Yeah, I think if you watch too long, your eyes will go sore. Evan, this is the first time I've ever had an on board with somebody I've actually been on board with on a racing track. So Evan, taking us down here Paddock Hill Bend, taking as much of the outside curb as you possibly can as we head into Druids hairpin. You want to really hug that really tightly. And the great thing about these TCRs is that they love those curves. You can absolutely eat those curves up for breakfast, lunch, and dinner in these cars in the way that you just can't do with the open wheelers. Evan not following the other VRA car in front of him out to the grass, but heading straight down to Cooper Straight and through clearways here. This is a little left-hander, right-hander. Later on the season, we'll be hanging a left there and heading on towards the GP section as you head towards Start Curve. It's a fairly straightforward circuit. Nothing too outrageous about it. A nice different set of curbs and corners, and something that will plenty of corners, of course, that will encourage overtaking, particularly expecting to see a move down the inside into Druids and the switchback for the following corner. But yeah, it's a nice little tidy track. Obviously, does very well on this junior formulas. It gets used an awful lot in the kind of lower ranks, plus the touring cars. And as we said, we're mirroring the real life British touring car season this season. So great opportunity for these guys to, like, there's plenty of tape and footage there of how to drive these cars around this track, because this is a combination that is very, very common in real life. So really looking forward to seeing what kind of racing this shortened track is.
Yes, should be fantastic. It's currently Ronan Doherty who is quickest of the bunch, with Wayne Douglas in second position. Here comes Wayne towards the start-finish line, getting a little bit of a slipstream from Robbie Callaghan in front. Dara Halley is in third. Sean McGoldrick in fourth, doing quite well. Dara Halley doing exceptional, though. The lead Audi, or Audi. There's going to be a lot of debate about how to pronounce these car names, isn't there? And I'm not really here for it. It's Robbie Callaghan in fifth. Oscar Mangan then upon return in sixth. Oscar, if you don't really remember who he is, although with how much he dominated the Mustang America's Cup, you probably do. He, of course, was the champion that season and beat Ronan Doherty in the championship with 555 points. He is now a rally driver, racing in the Dacia Sandero Rally Challenge, and got on quite well in the opening 2 rounds. Dylan McClemenson, LMP2 champion, is behind him with Conor Mealy in 8th, and it is Brandon McCaughan and Rory O'Shea rounding out the top 10 in qualifying so far. But there'll still be plenty of changes around this short circuit. You only need one perfect lap to nail it. We currently have 4 cars setting 48.6s. You can't really get closer than that.
Yeah, as to be expected with the strength of the field, to see lots of really, really low times. We're looking at Kevin Joyce now on board, and we have the return of our onboard cameras. So great to see Kevin there. You can see the little Audi Sport logo in the bottom right-hand corner. I think one of the reasons why I love this car so much is because my own daily drive is an A3, a very battered and bruised A3, but an A3 nonetheless. One of the old Sportbacks. So it's very similar dash and like very similar feel to my road car, which just when you're in VR, it's fantastic to feel like you're almost sitting in your own car. Now, doing it for 4 hours without a break on VR becomes less enjoyable once you hit the around 3.5 hour mark, but persistent nonetheless. But yeah, it is a superb car, and it's been on the iRacing service for a very long time. It was the only TCR car when I joined iRacing a couple of years ago. Obviously, they've added the Hyundai and the Honda since, but yeah, still, it's great to see now a good variety of British touring cars. And interesting, Evan, obviously speaking, not so much on this championship, but just in general about iRacing. There was supposed to be a British touring car championship game that was supposed to be released by R Factor. There are Studio 192. Oh my god, it's gone on my head now. But the studio that was creating R Factor was supposed to be also creating a British touring car game under Motorsport Games. Obviously, that collapsed. But a lot of touring car championship was released for R Factor 2. But now with that license potentially hanging in the air, it would be great to see iRacing get that license and to have a full complement of all the cars, because that's one of the things that really makes touring car great. It's just the huge variety of cars that are out there on track.
Yeah, it would be great to see that, and I think they will get that license, hopefully, if it follows the trajectory of the IndyCar license. Of course, Motorsport Games, same people who were going to make the British Touring Car game, were going to make an IndyCar game. That fell through, and iRacing got the IndyCar license back. So be great to see iRacing get a full selection of British touring car championship machines. The Audi, of course, the RS3 LMS, which I wonder what that stands for. My brain would have immediately said Le Mans, but I don't think there's TCR cars racing in Le Mans, anyways. Unless we had a NASCAR, so you never know. It is the oldest TCR on iRacing, of course, as Kevin said. It has a DSG gearbox, which means it is the only TCR car on the game to not have a clutch, so it is more natural for the sports car drivers to hop in. I'm surprised Oscar Mangan hasn't selected it, actually, because he traditionally races your big sports cars for endurance races, but he's gone for the Honda. It has the highest top speed, reportedly. Obviously, it's much of a muchness, but the Audi seemingly having the best engine on long straights, but they're not going to be able to open the cylinders up much tonight.
Yeah, it's they won't have a chance to stretch the legs on these cars. Very, very short gearing we're going to have here. It's all about acceleration in as much as you possibly can. Just having a look there, it's a Honda and 3 Hyundais. So the fastest Audi out on track at the moment is 5th. That's Dara Halley. So, but it is good that there's a nice mix. There isn't a sort of an OG car that everyone's selecting. Even, because oftentimes when you come to the iRacing endurance events, you'll see the same car again and again and again that people are doing. But, it would be good to see. It's great to see that there's a kind of a variety. As Oscar Mangan goes fastest again with a 48.548. Obviously, 15-minute qualifying here, which normally gives you maybe 6 laps ish. But obviously here with a 48-second lap, these guys can keep going and keep going. So normally you would say with a fastest lap around 13 or 14 minutes in, it's a great chance that Oscar's taken pole. But there's still almost 2 laps left for these guys to try and get around. So let's see what happens here. Ronan Doherty, 48.6. Ronan's quickened pretty much everything he's in. But looking at the usuals, I suppose, who would be up there? Like Rory O'Shea's in 11th, Sean McClements in 10th. Great to see Sean racing. I've suffered a really nasty accident in Mondello at the weekend. Saw videos of that. So it's great to see he's recovered okay and on track. And again, Dylan McClements in 8th, Conor Mealy in 9th. So it's going to take some adjusting to for these guys, especially having just come out of the F4s, 2 completely different cars.
Yeah, certainly. It is a big stepping stone, and it's going to take a couple of rounds to gel into them. Robbie Callahan is currently on his 18th lap in the session, which is unheard of in an RTA race, let alone in qualifying. So we're going to get some lap counts completed this evening. He's not really improving. The current quickest time is Oscar Mangan, who is in the pit lane. Ronan Doherty's heading in towards the final couple of corners now, as Callahan absolutely will not be improving. Doherty picking up a nice slipstream from, I believe that's Wayne Douglas in front. So here comes Ronan Doherty towards the start-finish line. Is he going to pivot? No, he's just missed it. Just didn't make it. I don't think he was improving anyways. Personal best in sector number 1, but doesn't seem like it was going to be an improvement anyways. So it is pole for the returning Oscar Mangan. Won the Mustang America's Cup, left, and he's come back and straight back on top. Wayne Douglas then in 3rd, behind Ronan Doherty, of course, and it is Brandon McCaughton, Dara Halley, Sean McGoldrick, Robbie Callahan, Dylan McClements, Conor Mealy, Sean McClements, Rory O'Shea, Kevin Joyce, Keith Stewart, who we'll speak more on later, Evan Walsh, Dave Collier, Tony Stack, Simon Hutchings, Emma Dempsey, Peter McCann, way down the order from where he'd like to be, and then Andrew Murphy in 20th. Then Jacob Hobbs, Danny Dempsey, Fiddley Melvin, Simon Wall, David Prunty, Phil Upson, Jamal Gandor, and then rounding out the field is Nathan Sweeney.
Yeah, great to see the likes of Jacob Hobbs joining us again. He was obviously a first-timer for the F4 Championship, but is joining us again. And a couple of new faces there that I'm sure, as Evan has said, we'll get around to. A couple of new faces as well in the chat. Chris Cash, thank you very much. Says, looking forward to seeing how Keith Stewart gets on with his debut in the series. Everyone at Pure Motorsports rooting for him. Ollie Meredith says, it's Hanner time, Danny. And Neville Smith back with us again. And he says, great to see the next generation of Dempsey's on track. A great motorsport family. So thanks to everyone for your comments. We'll be keeping an eye on them over the course of the 3 races that we'll have up. And 3 races, Evan, that will see plenty more laps than we're used to. We're almost getting more laps in the opener than we would in the feature in most other races.
Yes, absolutely. We have 10 minutes of action here, and it is going to be a good one. And as the 5 lights come on for the first time in the Motorsport.ie RTA British Touring Car Championship, we go racing here at Brands Hatch. Great start for Ronan Doherty, immediately looking to the outside. Wayne Douglas trying to try one down the inside. Doherty brave to the outside of Oscar Mangan. A little bit of nervousness on the race start for Oscar Mangan, and that allows the boy from Dunloy to take the race lead. Wayne Douglas trying it round the outside here in towards turn number 2 of Druids. He's not going to be able to get it done. Little bit of a snap on exit. Dara Halley a little bit nervous in the Audi as Ronan now has to defend from the Dubliner in towards turn 3.
Yeah, Dara just got totally caught in the middle. He is one of my nominations for, was it his livery? Somebody's running the old Audi Quattro livery anyway from the old Super Touring days. That would be one of my top ones. As another one gets pushed around, that's the 29 car, is it? Or 89, is it? Of Brandon McGahan. And there's already bumpers flying all over the place. It's been a hectic start, as you would expect in the British Touring Car Championships, but everyone has reasonably survived. Sean McClement's up 2 places, Evan Walsh up 3 places as we head through the first lap. Peter McCann up 4 already to 15th.
Yeah, the man with the greatest jump start ever this circuit, Finlay Melvin, is up 6 positions as well. So legal this time round, but just as good a start. And Melvin is up to 17th. Peter McCann got off the line well as well, as did Danny Dempsey. You saw Oliver Meredith in the stream chat cheering him on. Those two will know each other well from the karting scene. Oliver with a great Irish Grand Prix last year in Nuts Corner. But Danny, good start. He's getting into the swing of things quickly, and he's learned a thing or two from his family and from the Turn 3 Motorsport folks. Here we go then. Here is Dara Halley and Robbie Callahan battling up the hill in towards Paddock Hill Bend. They'll be braking for the downhill corner. Callahan has the inside in the Hyundai, then it is Halley on the outside in the Audi, and Callahan is going to get that one stopped much better. Uses a lot more curb on both inside and outside of the corner, and he is ahead.
Yeah, Halley back ahead, and great to see. One of the things I love about the TCR cars is that rubbing and that bumping and bashing that you see between them. They're obviously well able to take a good bit of punishment. These cars, they're made for it, and that will encourage guys to really go at it once it's done in a fair way. I think you do love to see a good robust combat, because obviously the open wheelers don't so much allow that. They're very as we see the back of Sean McGoldrick's Duff Beer inspired car. Sean's always very good for an old Simpsons reference. I remember he ran Mr. Sparkle before on one of the other, I think it might have been a TCR car, I can't remember exactly what it was, but Sean in running 6th at the moment in the 28 car. And Sean is a guy who is always an outside shout for finishing on a podium place. He'll be hoping that some chaos will start that, as we see a bit of chaos there. Darren Halley getting once again on Druids Bend. That's twice now in the opening 4 laps where he's been caught up in contact there, but he's managed to keep the car pointing in a straight line and stays ahead of Connemania. But Evan Walsh profits. He's up 5 places now to 9th place. Good start for the man from Clonmel returning.
Yeah, keep an eye on Sean McGoldrick in that Elantra. That's a great point you made, Kevin. He's always a danger in these tin tops. The last proper tin top we had in the Mustang America's Cup, he took 7 podiums, and then of course won the Endurance Championship with his teammate Tony Stacks. Keep an eye on Sean McGoldrick, and he's having a great race here so far in 6th spot, but he does have his namesake, spelled slightly different, but his namesake nonetheless, Sean McClements in 7th place, who is battling through a little bit of stiffness here to race with us this evening. But he's given a great effort and a great account of himself so far. Dylan McClements, his teammate, just right behind their other teammate, Ronan Doherty, who hasn't managed to get the livery sorted for this evening, but I imagine he'll have one next week in Donington, is defending from Oscar Mangan in towards Surtees and Clearways. The top 3 are right on each other's tail, and Wayne Douglas goes for the inside, but so does Doherty, and that ends up in Oscar Mangan spinning out at Clearways. Disaster. It was Doherty who ended up going round in the end. Apologies, it was Ronan Doherty who's lost the big time. Mangan did a good job to save that. Doherty has dropped down to 10th. Disaster.
Yeah, I don't think Ronan Doherty can be blamed there. We might be able to have a look at a replay there, but it looked like Wayne Douglas came into contact with Mangan and he just pushed Mangan into the rear right corner of Doherty. Ronan, I don't think there's much that Ronan could have done here. So we'll have to see what happened here, but it looked to me like Wayne Douglas just got pushed into Oscar Mangan, and then that pushed Mangan. Oh no, that's Mangan gone straight into Doherty. Douglas has got nothing to do with that. That's Mangan straight into the right rear corner of Doherty. So that's definitely going to be something that the steward's going to have a look at.
Sorry you had to watch that one again, Neville Smith. Oscar Mangan, though, getting away with one there. Potentially, that could have been a lot more disastrous, and Ronan will be pretty furious with that one, you might think. He's down to 10th, which is not really... It's not a disaster for Ronan, as I might have thought earlier. He can fight back from that, and especially given we have 3 races here this evening, and how close it came last season. Every position matters. Let's have a look then at Keith Stewart. You can see on your screen at the bottom right-hand corner. He's behind Rory O'Shea. And Keith, you heard it mentioned earlier from Pure Motorsports digital racing team. He had a great 2023 on iRacing. Won the Nords 24, won Petit Le Mans, won, I believe it was the Road America 500. It was something 500 in America, that was my guess, and of course has finished second in Spa once upon a time as well. So in terms of iRacing experience, he's got a lot of it. We imagine he's got a fight here tonight from Ballymoney. So another Antrim driver to contend with here in RTA.
Yeah, and just looking at that incident again, I've watched it back a few times here now. Just coming back to that 80s, looks like Oscar Mangan really hits all on Oscar for that one, which is surprising really from Oscar. You speak of Keith Stewart's iRacing experience. Well, Oscar Mangan is one of the highest iRacing raters, whatever you want to call it, in Ireland. I think he has 7,500 or 8,000 iRating. So Oscar's a very, very quick boy. 8.3 actually is exactly what is it, and he is in the field the highest iRating driver in the field.
In Ireland,
yeah,
to be fair.
I think Oscar Mangan is officially the highest iRating driver in Ireland. So surprised to see him make a mistake like that. But the stewards do not they do not make any discrepancies for anybody regardless of their standing. So I'd expect to see some swift justice for Oscar, as we see Conor Melia going wide there off in the gravel, but it didn't cost him too much time as Rory O'Shea is trying to defend here from Keith Stewart. Keith all over the back of him. And love to hear what people's thoughts are on their favourite liveries. We're seeing a big wide spread of different liveries, some mirroring real life, some mirroring some vintage, some are custom made for the season. So do get in touch in the comment section with your thoughts on your favorite livery out here at Brands Hatch Indy. But 9 laps already completed, and we're only less than 8 minutes into what is a 10-minute race. Evan Walsh, he has made huge strides. He's up 6 positions, but everybody in the top 8 bar Oscar Mangan are up from where they started. Evan's up 6, Dylan McClements is up 1, his brother Sean is up 4, Sean McGoldrick up 1, Robbie Callahan up 3, Brandon McGahan up 1 to the podium places, Oscar down 1 from where he started, and Wayne Douglas up 2. He leads the field as we head into the final 2 minutes.
See, it was probably a little bit unfamiliar circumstances for Oscar Mangan. He didn't have co-driver Elva Rowe saying 3 right over crest as he came in towards Clearways, so just needs to get back into the swing of things of circuit racing, it seems. But no, he's carrying on, still in second, pushing Wayne Douglas all the way. Here is the man who was unfortunate in that instant, Ronan Tardy. He's now almost pushing Evan Walsh up the hill in towards Paddock Hill Bend. Walsh, of course, sporting the livery of his real-life Fiesta Z-Tech, which he raced in Montella for the first time this weekend. Had a cracking weekend at it as well. First and second in the rookie class of that championship. Almost ended up in the beach at the exit of Paddock Hill Bend, but he saved it nicely. He's now under pressure from both Doherty and Halley. Has to keep them behind for another 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, it's great to see Evan getting that opportunity that he has to race in the ICCR, and really looking forward to seeing how he gets on this season. A little bit of a mistake there in Paddock Hill Bend, but as you said, did manage to catch it. Peter McCann up to 13th. Not a great qualifying session for the formerly Earn-Tile sponsored VRA Racing man, but moving on with his life now, and up to 14th place, just been overtaken by Rory O'Shea. So up 5 places, but good stuff from the Laois native.
Yes, good job so far. This is the battle for the lead then. Oh no! Wayne Douglas has been hit in towards turn number 3. That's at Druids, and really styled it out. Has held second. Mangan is away at the front. We might have to have another look at that one, but Wayne Douglas still in second. Might be under pressure from Brandon McCahan here. Oscar Mangan in the race lead. It is a controversial start to RTA. British Touring Car Championship with Oscar Mangan making contact with both Ronan Doherty and Wayne Douglas. That is pretty much the win decided. We'll have one more lap to go here as Robbie Callahan is going to try and pressure Brandon McCaughan in towards Paddock Hill Bend, but Wayne Douglas was in the lead, got a hit round, styled it out to be fair, and he's still on for second.
Yeah, we might get an opportunity to look at that maybe after the race, hopefully, if we can. If not, we might have a quick look at it for the end, because obviously that deciding first position. But yeah, coming together, lots of coming togethers, and Oscar right in amongst the thick of it. Now, he will finish first provisionally, but that might be changed. And look at that gap between himself and Wayne Douglas. So Wayne, look, if Wayne feels like he's been wronged, at least he's managed to stay in second position. It hasn't ruined his race, and the steward's decision might still hand him the win. So all is not lost for Wayne in the in the 9 car. But as it stands, Oscar Mangan crosses the line, and Ireland's highest I rating driver wins the opening round of the RTA British Touring Car Championship season, sponsored by Motorsport.ie. After Evan, what was I think an anticipatedly, if that's a word, hectic race around this short Indy track.
Yeah, to be fair, when you put such a large grid of TCRs, 28 of them to be exact, around a 1.9 kilometer circuit, what can you really expect? We kind of expected something similar tonight, but Oscar Mangan on top, Wayne Douglas in second, Brandon McCaughan in third. They're racing all the way to the line. Sean McClements and Nathan Sweeney. And I think it's going to be Sweeney who wins out in this one in the Honda. It is. He just about pips Sean. So something happened to Sean in that race as well, because he was up with his brother Dylan in sort of the top 10, and he's ended up down in 27, so something has gone wrong, unfortunately, for Sean. We won't, unfortunately, don't have a replay of that one, folks, but just click the back button on the stream a couple of times. You'll get a replay then. Here's your full results then. Oscar Mangan, your race winner by 2.1 seconds over Wayne Douglas in second. Brandon McCaughan in third. Robbie Callahan then in fourth, ahead of Sean McGoldrick in fifth. Dylan McClemens in sixth. Ronan Doherty in seventh. Evan Walsh in eighth. And Conor Melia in ninth. Then it was debutant Keith Stewart in 10th, ahead of Halley, O'Shea, McCann, Melvin, Collier, Murphy, Hobbs, Hutchings, Dempsey and Kevin Joyce rounding us out in 20th. And it was Simon Wall ahead of Phillips and Emma Dempsey, David Prunty, Tony Stack, Nathan Sweeney, Sean McClemens, and unfortunately Jamal Gandor bowing out of that one and finishing 8 laps down.
Yeah, unfortunate for Jamal. I'm just trying to do exactly as you said here and have a look at that incident back between those two. See if I can come to some sort of conclusion on it. And yes, Oscar down the inside of Druid's corner, tags the rear right of Wayne Douglas. I think Oscar will be a very lucky boy if
Kevin,
he avoids.
We're just starting Heat 2 here. Oh, and Oscar Mangan has not gridded, so we go racing without Heat 1's winner. Wayne Douglas has the clearest run of his life in towards Paddock Hill Bend. The rest of them all scrapping right behind. Sean McGoldrick in second, and no, Sean McGoldrick into the wall. He was in second, now he's in the wall. He's come back onto the track, and he has clipped someone. Didn't quite catch who that was. It's a disastrous start here at Brands Hatch. Wayne Douglas has the race lead, doesn't know what's happened behind him. What happened behind him? All sorts of chaos.
Yeah, it's Robbie Callahan who tags the back of Sean McGoldrick, and then I tried to see who it is that was in the Jägermeister sponsored car that did kind of. Yeah, Brandon McCaughan, he was the one then that went that kind of lost out in that. And Dara Halley's been involved in an incident. He's tumbling down the order in his Audi, so it's not been a good start for the Audis. They find themselves way down the grid after a number of different accidents. But for Wayne Douglas, this is absolutely perfect for him. He, first of all, saw our race 1 winner not grid for race 2, which I think is a first in RTA history. And then saw absolute chaos behind him with Robbie Callahan just tagging the back. And to be fair, when you have that many cars piling down into Paddock Hill Bend, all scrapping for a little slice of the pie here of the asphalt in Kent, it's so difficult for everything to go right, as we see another potential battle there as we head towards clearways. That's the number 22 of Jacob Hobbs coming together with Dave Collier, and Collier spins Hobbs around. Hobbs sticks his foot on the accelerator, manages to spin it back around, but unfortunately for him, more contact as Evan Walsh is up to 4th place now. He's a big benefiter from all that contact as well. So Ronan Darty up 5 places from where he started into second place, and Evan Walsh up 4 places to 4. Peter McCann in the top 7, or top 6, should I say, and potentially going for a top 5 place.
Yes, it's push or be pushed here in Brands Hatch. It's getting very scrappy out there. Robbie Callaghan trying to the outside of Evan Walsh. He's taken that one off the track, but I think all hell has broken loose here, and Evan Walsh will have to just settle for 5th position. Just on Sean McClemens in the last heat, he unfortunately had a ridiculous amount of ping and had to pull over just to avoid having a collision with anyone. So unfortunately the horrid luck continues, and hopefully it's up from here. It is up in terms of this race. He is up to 22nd, so has gained 5 positions, although 2 or 3 of them have been due to incidents. Wayne Douglas leads, Ronan Doherty second, then it is McCaughan, Callaghan, Walsh, McCann, Melia, McClements, Stewart and Collier in the top 10. That was Dave Collier and Jacob Hobbs. You saw making contact in towards Clearways just a handful of laps ago. The stewards will probably have a look at that one as well, as a bit of lap traffic here. That is Sean McClements, who unfortunately I think is having similar issues to the last heat. So he will let Ronan through. I'm surprised he didn't try hold up Wayne a little bit more, knowing that his cousin and teammate is trying to catch the race leader. Keith Stewart of Pure Motorsports looking for the position on an RTA champion. Dylan McClements just in front of him.
Yeah, it's the new and the old battling here now, as you see Dylan and Keith Stewart. Evan has a friend and foe behind him in the shape of Peter McCann. 2 guys that know each other exceptionally well. Funny that Peter still has the some of the branding on the front of his car there from a company that no longer exists as far as I'm aware. But nonetheless, Evan holding off Peter, and those guys have shared the track plenty in Mondello over the years on different track days. So they will be well acquainted with each other. Normally running different types of machinery. I know that Peter had an old Beamer that he was running, a beautiful E30, if I'm right in saying, and an E36, and Evan had the old Honda that he was running around. I think he's gotten rid of that subsequently, but he's stuck with the Honda branding at least for the British Touring Car Championships. Perhaps an ode to his former run around. And yeah, those 2 know each other exceptionally well. Danny Dempsey, no shenanigans thus far from the 19 cars. He profits on Simon Hutchins going on an adventure and finds himself now in 17th place. But Oscar Mangan, that's a big crash between the 3 of those. That's, I'm trying to track the number there. Is that David Prunty that smashed into Simon Hutchins and then he sent him into Danny? Very unfortunate. Oscar Mangan, by the way, only just avoided that incident. He literally slipped through just as that was happening. So Simon rejoins reasonably well back into Paddock Hill, and then we see a tap and a bit of bowling here at Druid's Hairpin.
That is horrendous driving on all accounts. Apart, not Danny Dempsey. Danny, you unfortunately have been collected there, my friend. But yeah, the stewards are 99.999% going to have a look at that one post-race, and Peter McCann, Andrew Murphy and the rest of the stewards are going to have a bit of a busy evening on their hands. But again, we kind of expected this. It's TCR Cars at Brands Hatch, and it has been thoroughly entertaining, if anything. Just to do a company a little bit of justice, it wasn't trackdays.ie that Kevin was talking about on that car. Just clarifying for those out there, if Rob is watching, it's not his company. I'll say no more, but put 1 + 1 together, you'll get 2 in that last 10-second sequence.
Yeah,
Here is Oscar Mangan fighting his way through the field. He has gridded now, so I'm learning how iRacing works by the minute. He is ahead of Jacob Hobbs now, dives down the inside, so Mangan just looking to work through his field. He's allowed to start in the pits. That is new information for me. Very sorry, folks.
No, that's perfectly okay. Oscar trying now to make up some championship points, and obviously his opening race win is very much hanging in the balance of the stewards room as well, so it remains to be seen whether he does actually win that. This man, Wayne Douglas, could be, if the stewards decide, this could potentially be back-to-back wins for Wayne to kick off the championship. And Wayne is a guy that we hadn't seen on the top step of the podium in quite some time. I'm sure Evan has all the statistics and will tell us exactly when the last time, if ever, Wayne has stepped on the top step of a podium of an RTA championship race. But Nonetheless, as we see another car go wide, I think that's lap traffic in this form of Kevin Joyce. It is one of our men joining us on the webcam today. Not a great moment for Kevin, unfortunately, but running that very effervescent DHL livery, I think it's fair to say. Yeah, still looking to hear what your thoughts are on your favorite livery as we count down towards, we're about halfway through this race now, getting towards halfway, and Wayne has a good lead, but not an overly comfortable lead. You would never say that 0.7 of a second against the likes of Ronan Doherty really does make for a comfortable lead.
The fantastic Johnny Hollywood saying on the Gantry TV stream chat that he believes Tony Stack should get points for his livery.
Agreed.
Let's have a look at it.
Agreed. This is the Audi Quattro livery from the golden era of touring cars that I was talking about. I think this is like from 96 or 97. Yeah.
Okay, I was -9.
No, you're quite a bit off, yeah. Finlay Melvin now, as we see two coming quite close together. That's Jacob Hobbs again in the middle of it, and Andrew Murphy slipping through there in the old Renault. No, that again, can I have a look at Andrew Murphy's car? That again is an absolute superb livery. That is the Renault version of so it's take Hyundai out and replace it for Renault. So whoever did that livery, if it was Andrew or if Andrew just got it off Trading Paints, I'm not sure. But somebody's taken the old Renault livery and has reworded all the Renault branding to Hyundai branding in the exact same style. That is outstanding work. That is exceptional. That for me beats Tony Stack. Stack's livery. That for me is my favorite livery on the grid this season.
I don't think I've ever heard you sound so excited, Kevin, to be brutally honest. Oh no, I have. Sorry. End of the Digital Motorsports World Cup, you were screaming your head off. But here we go. This is Nathan Sweeney's livery. Nathan, of course, racing in the ICC or Junior Mini Challenge for this year. Hopefully racing with a bit more of a car than he currently has. Whole front bumper's been whacked off that one, so something's happened to Nathan earlier on. It's a nice livery when it is complete. You can just trust us on that one.
Yeah, I think I've seen a Civic like that on the M50 a couple of times, but yeah, this is the first time I've seen. Yeah, you wouldn't be surprised. Every single day on that road. Yeah, Evan Walsh holding up the traffic here, I think it's fair to say, speaking of M50, but he is doing a good job of keeping everybody behind him nonetheless. No doubt a slight fumigation of Bulmer's is starting to fill the cockpit now of Conor Melia as he tries to stay behind Evan. And flashing the lights is Conor Melia. As if to say, Conor, you're doing a great job, I'm not going to overtake you. That's what that means. As Evan sticks in there, Conor, he's just trying to get in his head really more than anything else. But Evan is a cute old guy behind the wheel, and he won't be that easily distracted. As Conor is half thinking about the move, but Evan's doing everything he can to put his Honda Civic exactly where it needs to be. I'm sure there's more than one Honda Civics cutting people off in Clonmel over the years, so I'm sure that Evan has plenty of experience of that, and he's showing exactly that in action here at the Brands Hatch Indy circuit with just over 4 minutes left of this race 2.
Was that your own version of "I'm going for first," says John Clement, with the Conor Melia flashing the lights thing? That's how it came to my mind anyway. Still, but Clements braved it out over the grass of Surtees, trying to get past Keith Stewart. Unfortunately, he has lost position to the savvy Peter McCann, so McCann capitalising on that one exceptionally with 4 minutes to go in this race. Here's Jacob Hobbs, and that is Andrew Murphy, who he's fighting with, I believe. No, sorry, Finlay Melvin, who he's fighting with. So Murphy, 3 seconds up the road, as a matter of fact. Finlay Melvin is right behind, and Melvin is going to dive down the inside of Jacob Hobbs, and he's pulled that one off. Nice move for Finlay. Was excited to race in the TCR, so it is a car that takes to his fancy, and he's driving very well tonight indeed. Battle for the race lead, though, has emerged between Wayne Douglas and Ronan Doherty. Wayne Douglas, of course, the owner and runner of Douglas Motorsport in the GB3 Championship, who has had many success of himself, winning the British Vauxhall Championship once upon a time, and Ronan Doherty, who has had many of his own successes here in RTA and of course in Irish Motorsport. We don't need to go over those again. You've heard it enough times here on Gantry TV. This is a star-studded fight for the remaining 3 minutes of this race.
Yeah, and you keep hearing it because he keeps finding himself up the top, and he keeps finding a way to get up there, does Ronan Doherty. And maybe he's just not running the livery to, in the old Formula One style of trying to save some weight by not adding the paint to his car. Maybe he's just going completely carbon fiber. But Ronan is all over the back of Wayne Douglas. And as you say, a star-studded battle. And settle in, folks. This is going to be a good one as Wayne kicks a bit of dust in the face of Ronan Doherty, trying to put him off as much as he possibly can. But a 23 won't be deterred that easily as he sticks around it. And with almost 5 seconds between Ronan and Brandon, this is very much a 2-horse race for the second victory of the evening. And for Wayne Douglas, this could be back-to-back victories to kick off his season. What a start that would be.
Well, the only thing is it won't be back-to-back victories, as Oscar will still be credited with the win. He'll just get minus points. So, unfortunately, it won't be back-to-back victories in terms of Heat 1 and Heat 2. Could well be in 2 and 3, so stick with us throughout the evening, folks, to see that. The Evan Walsh train has emerged, and Keith Stewart is on carriage 1. He's trying to get past in towards Paddock Hill Bend, and he's pushing Walsh up the hill and even onto the grass. Evan Walsh clipping up a bit of dirt on the main straight. Keith Stewart goes to the outside. You can see the lights flashing behind from Oscar Mangan, an infamous trade of his from the Mustang America's Cup. And Keith Stewart got a decent run, but he is under pressure from Dylan McClements, and here we go. Doherty goes for the race lead, gets past Wayne Douglas in towards the Graham Hill Bend, and he now leads for the first time in heat number 2, trying to avenge what went wrong in heat number 1.
Yeah, it's all going on. You see a battle between Evan Walsh and Keith Stewart. Evan getting the better of that, but Ronan Doherty, a superb overtake through the Clark Curve, I'm right in saying that, or Clark Bend, or terrible with corner names, you have to excuse me, but Ronan with a really, really good move, and that series of corners that, you have the sweeping right-hander, then you have a very tight right-hander, but then it switches back to the left. So if you don't get the run out of Druid's corner, you're very much open to that switchback, as Ronan now, where he overtook, he's trying to hold on to that position as they head down the Cooper Straight. And look at that front bumper of Wayne Douglas all over the back of Ronan Doherty. You could read a postage stamp attached to the front of that bumper. It's so close. But Wayne, 0.2 of a second now as we head across the line for the final time for the second race, and less chaotic, thankfully, but still some superb action.
We'll have 2 more, I think, going by Ronan Hederman in our ears. No, that was the white flag, right? So we'll have one more lap, and Doherty will have to defend in towards turn number 3. Is there a dive from Wayne Douglas? He's looked for it. He has looked for it, and they are separated by 0.2 of a second. Mangan going for the outside of McCann. This is crucial. This is for the reverse grid pole as a lapped car gets out of the way. Andrew Murphy has entered the pit lane. Ronan Doherty still surviving in the race lead. 4.10 separates them. Oscar Mangan is trying to get around the outside of Peter McCann. McCann's going to fight this one with his life, and Mangan breaks latest in towards the Graham Hill Bend, and he has got that one done. Out of the final corner comes Ronan Doherty. He had to wait till round 6 last season to win a race. Round number 1, second heat, Doherty's on the board. He wins the second heat in Brands Hatch ahead of Wayne Douglas in second position, and it's going to be a second consecutive podium for Brandon McCaughan in third. Outdrags Robbie Callaghan to the line, both in the Hyundais. Here comes Evan Walsh, and the Evan Walsh train did not derail. He's ahead of Keith Stewart for 5th. Dylan McClements then in 7th behind Keith, and Oscar Mangan did get the reverse grid pole. That is Jacob Hobbs, who's running way wide at Clearways. Maybe had a slowdown of some sort, but he's lost an awful lot of positions there, and unfortunately one of them was to David Prunty, who'll just come home in front of him. What a great heat too. It was a slow burner, but got chaotic right at the end.
Yeah, but not in a bad way. It just got really, really good tight racing up and down the grid. Evan Walsh, that's some of the best pieces of piloting I've seen since a man ditched the plane in the Hudson. That was superb work from Evan Walsh to stay ahead of the massive train that was behind him and finishing in 5th place. And Oscar Mangan starts us off on pole position. Great opportunity now for the 99 car to try and make back some ground after what was a disappointing second race, having started in the pit lane. So our first round of interviews for this evening, and Evan, it's a new season, a different track, a new series. but the same old Ronan Doherty joining us in the commentary booth.
Yes, absolutely. A very impressive performance in heat number 2. Hello, Ronan, can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
We'll start with heat number 1 then, and you were running very well. First race in the Motorsport.ie RTA BTCC Championship, and it all went wrong very quickly. Talk to us about that one from your perspective.
Yeah, for sure. No, I'm sort of this. Touring cars aren't really my drift. It's more single seater. So I was kind of making mistakes, particularly in the druids each lap, and I made one lap, and Oscar got close, and then he just gave me a nudge in the clearways on my rear right quarter panel, and round I went. So I think it put me down to 10th or something. Got back up to 7th by the end of the first race. But yeah, it's unfortunate.
Heat number 2 then. Last season you had 3 wins. You had to wait till round 6 to get your first one. Heat number 2, the first week of the season, and you're on the board. You must be delighted with that one.
Yeah, especially starting from P7. There's a bit of a calamity going on ahead of me, and I made 3 overtakes. So that was all in the space of 2 corners. I found myself in second. Wayne was about 1.2, 1.1 seconds ahead. And I just pulled the gap in a little bit each lap until I got into his toe, and then I managed to make the mistake in Graham Hill.
Then last season, of course, in the F4s, you make a little bit of contact and it is absolutely disastrous. Here, the TCRs, if you're not going door to door with the other driver, you're 2/10 off the pace. What's the plan of attack for the reverse grid heat for Eden?
I don't know. Just trying to stay alive. Oscar's on reverse grid pole, so he's probably going to drive off into the distance. But yeah, just try and make places at the start and avoid being on the outside of Paddock Hill.
Ronan Doherty, thank you very much for joining us, and all going well, we'll speak to you in about 20 minutes' time. So, good to hear from Ronan. Now over to Kevin Galvin with Brandon McCaughan.
Brandon, once again, you join us in the commentary booth, which is always a good sign for you. It means that you have had a decent run of it in a third place position. How are you getting on with these tin tops?
Yeah, I'm very surprised with 2/3. To start the championship off, I hadn't driven a front wheel drive car on a sim before like quarter to 8 there, so very happy. I don't like the car at all. Just kind of flicking my way at the minute. My pace isn't that great, but got a good quality in with a toe, and then 2 good races. Stayed safe at the starts and got into a good position, and then held off Robbie at the end of both of them. He had good pace, but just managed to hold him off.
Yeah, what is it about them that you don't like?
I'm just not used to front wheel drive, to be fair. Like, I've never did anything front wheel drive, never raced it on a sim. Just kind of getting used to it. I'm sure I'll be fine when I get used to it. Like, but happy to be near enough the pace anyway. So hopefully, as the championship goes on, I'll get quicker and quicker.
Yeah, and of course, like, it is as much about avoiding some of the carnage, particularly, yourself in the opening race, people trying to get to grips with a new machine, and one is on a very tight track as well. That does mean that, you have more and more laps, which means you're more and more likely to have incidents.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, like can't even remember how many laps that race was. Like 18. The first lap was hectic in both races. I kind of just stayed sensible and kept my nose clean and ended up in a good position from both of them. So happy enough. See how this last race goes. I'd say it'll be quite hectic with the reverse grid.
And do you reckon that there's more pace in you in these cars as you get up to speed with them?
Oh, definitely, yeah. Well, I would think so anyway. Like, that's I've only really had an hour or two here to get used to it, so I'm sure the pace will come over time. And I'm sure hopefully by the next round to get a bit of testing on the Monday night before it, and then come the races, I should hopefully be near enough there.
Well, Brandon, 2 third-place finishes is a great result for somebody who doesn't like the car that they're actually driving. So congratulations, and we may indeed see you in the back in the interview room after the final race.
Fingers crossed. Cheers.
Thanks to Brandon McGahan. So yeah, 2 third-place finishes, and I'd say, Evan, that to Brandon's feelings probably echo a lot of these guys. It's always hard to try and get used to new machinery, especially when it's a completely flipped driving style when you're running with those front-wheel drive cars.
Yeah, we haven't had something like this in quite some time, because even our last season before single seaters was LMP2s, which is significantly quicker, but it is a star-studded front row in terms of RTA standards. Oscar Mangan and Dylan McClements on the front row. Oscar definitely the favourite for this race, but Dylan has had masterclasses round here in Brands Hatch before. Keith Stewart third, Evan Walsh fourth, and it is Robbie Callahan, Brandon McCaughan, Wayne Douglas, Ronan Doherty, Peter McCann, Conor Melia, Dave Collier. Then it is Tony Stack, Simon Wall ahead of Finlay Melvin, Phil Upson, David Prunty, Jacob Hobbs, Andrew Murphy, Sean McClements, Kevin Joyce, Nathan Sweeney, Sean McGoldrick, Rory O'Shea and Simon Hutchings in 24th. And then a little bit further down we have Emma Dempsey, Danny Dempsey locking out a Dempsey row of the grid. And then it's Dara Halley and Jamal Gandor to round us out. Unfortunately, there won't be a going from Jamal tonight. He's had a lot of connection issues, so he's had to sit this one out. Hopefully it's a better evening in Donington Park for our Lebanese native, and the lights are coming on here. We're going to get heat free underway. This could be all sorts of chaos, and for the final time tonight we go racing at Brands Hatch. Brilliant launch from Evan Walsh immediately off the line and up to third place. Keith Stewart I think has bogged down a little bit, and he's not got the best of getaways. He's already down 6 positions before the apex of the first corner. Oscar Mangan in the race lead, Dylan McClements right behind. Brandon McCaughan I think has gone adventuring into the gravel at the exit of turn number 1. Not a good start for the two-time podium sitter tonight.
No, and nor is it a good start for the likes of Sean McGoldrick, who finds himself all the way down in 23rd position. Who else is it? David Prunty had big issues as well in the opening corner there. He's gone down the order in a massive way. The likes of Prunty's down 8 positions, Phil Upson down 12, Dave Collier down 5, as is Brandon McGahan and Keith Stewart. So some big losers already, and we've only just started the opening lap. So Evan Walsh in third, he's gone up 1 place as well. He's had a great run thus far, and Wayne Douglas already into 4th position. Ronan Doherty up 2 places into 6th, but Oscar Mangan leading us once again as we head into the second lap here and down towards Druids Corner.
Doherty down the inside of Callahan, the two rivals from the Formula V season once upon a time, battling here in the TCRs. Conor Melia just ahead of Keith Stewart. Disastrous start for Stewart, but he's slowly working his way back up. He has gained 1 position already. Your biggest gainer so far in this one is 2 names, Danny Dempsey and Dara Halley, right at the back of the grid, both gaining 5 spots in the opening 2 laps. It's a real squabble in this midfield. Nathan Sweeney just looking to get up to pace this evening and battle with Hutchings and Halley in front. We're across the start-finish line once again for the 3rd time in 2 minutes, and Oscar Mangan still leads. Evan Walsh under pressure from Wayne Douglas in 4th. This is going to be new territory for Douglas. Of course, hasn't done an RTA reverse grid race in quite some time, and a reverse grid race probably in quite some time. It's an unusual format, so this will be he'll be thrown in the deep end a little bit. Sean McGoldrick just keeping the 2 drivers behind, one being Kevin Joyce, and it's not been the best evening for Joyce. He's just lost another place there to Rory O'Shea.
Yeah, Rory was the one who was caught up in that incident early on in the second race, I believe. It's being smashed into the barrier after the incident that involved Sean McGoldrick, should I say. And now those 2 are together again on track as we see Kevin doing a bit of a Tokyo drift through clearways. And Kevin, as I said, he's a big dent on the back of that Audi RS3 already. He's one of those that's joining us on the webcam this evening. As Evan Walsh now being challenged by Wayne Douglas, and it looks like Douglas is going to get that done. That's also now going to open the door for Ronan Doherty. Doherty's going to have to hold off. Can Evan try and get back down the inside of Douglas? No, he can't. So that means that Douglas now into 3rd, Evan Walsh in 4th, Ronan Doherty in 5th, and I would expect to see Doherty mounting a challenge on the 42 car sooner rather than later.
Yes, Oscar Mangan and Evan Walsh, 2 Hondas in what has been pretty much a Hyundai-dominated evening so far, as Ronan Doherty goes across the grass to try get past Walsh in towards turn number 1. It's the bravest of brave here at Brands Hatch, and look how much later he has broken towards Paddock Hill Bend. Ronan Doherty, using every ounce of expertise he has, gives Evan Walsh a little bit of a nudge into the gravel. Nothing we haven't seen from anyone else tonight. Has Walsh just been tipped round? No, plants the throttle, saves the car. Piece of class, but he's lost 2 places.
Yeah, very disappointing for Evan. We'll have to go back and have a look at that again as a clash coming together of McGoldrick and Dave Collier there. And now Collier and Andrew Murphy have both got off, which opens the door again for McGoldrick. Can he slip down the inside of Murphy? He does. He just gets past as well. I think that's somebody else that's in the picture. Was that Finlay Melvin, I think, in the background that went off and had to come back on track? So McGoldrick shooting the corridor there and managing to make up quite a number of places over the course of that. So now McGoldrick is ahead of Andrew Murphy, who's ahead of Rory O'Shea. And behind them is Dave Collier, who was caught up in that incident on the opening lap. But I'd be interested to see that the incident again between Doherty, Evan Walsh and Robbie Callahan, because I'd be interested to see how that all played out. Thank you very much to Ronan Hederman as ever in the background for having things ready. Let's have a look at that. Ronan was on the grass there. Now there is a car's width as we head down towards Paddock Hill Bend. Ronan down the inside, Evan around the outside. And they managed to stay together as we head down towards here. Now Evan was pushed out in the gravel there, which meant he was wide coming into the next corner. He tried to stick the throttle in it. And I think it's fair to say bounced off the inside. Robbie arrived on the scene a little bit late, I think. Probably on Robbie that he didn't check up there, because once Evan hit into the left rear corner, I think Evan was maybe a little bit too keen to try and keep that battle going with Ronan Doherty. He ended up hitting his rear left corner, which forced him a little bit out wide and opened the door for Robbie Callahan. Robbie could have probably backed out of it a little bit, but it's very difficult in that situation because you do have a gaggle of cars behind you waiting to overtake you as well. So as it stands, Oscar Mangan with a handsome lead now at the front of the grid with about a quarter of this race gone, 1.2 seconds ahead of Dylan McClements, who's thankfully and also very strangely not having the same connection issues that his brother in the other room is having. So not entirely sure how the internet works there in Dunloy, but certainly Sean is back on track with us now. And after Evan, to take a quick moment to talk about it, like I know these guys play it down and they're racers and whatever, as Simon I think sort of just facilitates Sean McClements' overtake there. Quite a frightening accident when you look at it between himself at the weekend in Mondello. Car got kind of catapulted and somersaulted through the gravel, and thankfully for Sean, he came out of it. But certainly he's thankful to have a lid on. That's certainly a time where you look at the onboards and you think, thankfully we have those reinforced helmets now that save drivers if they end up in those positions.
Yeah, the car did its job and it saved him. He's a bit sore, but it could have been much worse. All the safety features that have been brought into motorsport helped him with the hands device and with the roll hoop on the car. But yeah, it is a frightening accident. For Sean's parents, for Sean, for Dylan, it's not something you ever want to go through. And Jordan Kelly said it to me in the paddock on Sunday. He goes, I've been racing for 6-7 years and I've never even come close to something like that. For it to happen on your first weekend is horrifying. Most importantly, Sean is okay. There will be another car. There will be more racing. His pace was fantastic, and I am so unbelievably proud of him from this weekend. And I'm not the only one. Everyone in RTA is. He'll bounce back, and look, he's still racing in 12th in the TCR literally 2 days later. And it's not been an easy race to come into tonight if you're feeling a little bit under the weather. It's been proper elbows out, but he is a true racer and will be one of the finest acts in the Mondello paddock in years to come.
Yeah, and I think for Sean, he's no choice because he's a little brother just itching to get into his seat, so he kind of has to keep going, really. He has no other choice. But no, in fairness to Sean, to bounce back and even very calm when talking about it with me yesterday. So delighted to see him back racing. Delighted to see that he's well enough to race again, and as you say, plenty more opportunities for the young man from Antrim to show his stuff. Now, Brandon McGaughan, he had 2 third-place finishes thus far. He's hoping to build on that, but he won't be getting anywhere close, despite an excellent overtake around the outside of Peter McCann. Peter, who was very close to starting this race on pole position, before being pipped by our leader, Oscar Mangan, who's now opened up a 3.3 second gap on Dylan McClements, who we're on board with now. Wayne Douglas all over the back of him, and behind him is Ronan Doherty. So Dylan taking the place of Evan Walsh, and once again, a green liveried car holding up these two guys as Wayne now trying to find a way down the inside. A little bit of a touch there as Dylan closes the door on Douglas. He's going to survive for another day, but he's wedged in the back of him here as Wayne Douglas. He's literally wedged in the back of Dylan's car. And now he goes to move down the inside. Let's see. And he's a little bit of elbows out. Let's see what stewards have to say about that. But it is a feature of TCR racing, that elbows out style of driving, and Wayne sticking it down the inside regardless of where Dylan was, and holds on second place. But now he gets tagged by Ronan Doherty, who slips into the lead. So a little bit of karma, maybe you might say, for Douglas, who had his elbows out to overtake Dylan McClements, but then got caught by the elbow of Ronan Doherty. And as we head back into Paddock Hill Bend for the 13th time in this feature race, Ronan now has a 0.3 of a second gap, but no doubt we'll see Wayne coming back at him over the course of this race. But Wayne
Good man,
getting
Dylan.
tagged there by Dylan McClements, who's showing him a bit of anything you can do, I can do better, I think, as Wayne now pushes Robbie Callahan off. So Wayne absolutely in the cut and thrust of this battle, which now allows Evan Walsh back into 5th position. So the battle for second is where it's at the moment here. Evan, Dalton, you can maybe deconstruct that for us, because there's plenty happening there in the last 2 laps.
Yeah, Dylan McClements getting the shove from Wayne Douglas. Ronan tried to avenge his cousin, but Dylan decided, eye for an eye, my friend. He might only be 14 years of age, but don't try bullying him on a racetrack. You won't win, and Dylan has given as good as he gets. Right now, we've reset. They can go at it once again. They have 1 point each for pushing each other off the track and trying to overtake. Let's see how it plays out. Rory O'Shea gets ahead of Jacob Hobbs. Rory, of course, who won his first RTA race in a long time last season. He has just been hit by Jacob Hobbs, and a little bit of push to pass there. Rory, I don't think will be too happy with that one. Has had some recent success in his own karting career. Has Rory O'Shea performing quite well in the SSI Karting Championship for his University MTU Cork, and got 3rd in the overall championship there, which is the whole of Ireland, so that's quite impressive for Rory. Hasn't been as much success here this evening, but he'll be working on the pace in the TCRs, and he will be getting back up to speed and most likely on the podium towards the end of the season, as he always seems to appear. Here's Robbie Callahan looking for the move on Evan Walsh. This sort of racing is right up Evan Walsh's street these days, so Callahan will have a tough time overtaking the Clonmel man in front. Ronan Doherty, I should say, in front, just pulling a little bit of a gap over Dylan McClements, about 0.7 of a second. Unfortunately, unless your race leader makes a mistake of his own, this one will be registered under the name of Oscar Mangan.
Yeah, most certainly. And just a nice little shout there for Rory, as you say. Great to see Cork doing well. Obviously, a great weekend for the county, I think it's fair to say. Just, nice to see us back where we belong. So, yeah.
You won the All-Ireland at the weekend.
Well, we did win an All-Ireland, just not the All-Ireland. So it's just
you won the Allianz League.
It's just a precursor. No, it's an All-Ireland league, so yeah, I'm just going to leave that there. So it is a precursor. I mean, there's only one team can win it every season, and Cork are the team that's won it this season. So bodes well going into championship in 2 weeks' time. But anyway, Dylan McClements from a county that hasn't won the Allianz Hurling League this year, defending from Wayne Douglas, who's also from a county who haven't won the Allianz Division 1A this year. So yeah, just great to see battling from these guys, obviously licking their wounds after a tough Allianz Hurling League campaign, but for us Corkonians, it's been a great weekend.
This is why we all want you to lose, as we go back to the battling. We've been told to move on by Ronan Hederman, and And I don't think Cork will ever move on from any sort of minor success. But anyways, here we go.
Well, Ronan naturally from the famous hurling county of Kildare, so we'll obviously want to move on from that topic of conversation.
Well,
But anyway,
I'll have you know, there was a certain Kildare club that almost won a national failure, which I may have been a panel member of. I played 10 minutes at a group game, but we won't say anything.
what was that word? What was that word? Almost.
Oh,
Was it the word? Almost. Oh yeah.
And
okay,
I've just realised we lost to a Cork team as well, so I've no foot in the fight here. Right, enough of that. 6 minutes left here in motor racing, the better sport, as Evan Walsh, also from Hurling County, is defending from Robbie Callaghan in 5th position. And Evan, I tell you what, he has been a reincarnation of Jarno Trulli tonight, I think, Kevin, because if you get parts behind him, you're not really getting past.
Yeah, and to be fair, Evan, also from a county who didn't win famously lost on the weekend. But Evan doing a superb job nonetheless. And yeah, he has been really, as you say, a Jarno Trulli imitation. Or, for those of you who did think that Formula One was invented when Drive to Survive began, you can go to Checo Perez, versus Lewis Hamilton a couple of years ago in Hungary, if you want to go for that reference. But yes, great job from
Fernando
Evan.
Alonso in Hungary.
Fernando Alonso against Lewis Hamilton in Hungary. My apologies. Yeah, let's go with that one. Wayne Douglas stacked down in 4th position, and he's slipping away from things now. He's stuck behind Dylan McClements. He's going to try and get back past him again, but McClements is actually going to hold off. So I think the 14-year-old has decided that to leave the battle, that the war has not been yet lost, as Wayne takes over as we head down through clearways for the 19th time here at the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit, by far the shortest circuit, I think, in this calendar season. So we come back here at the end of the year, or at the end of the season, should I say, to race the GP circuit, which is an altogether different type of track as you head out into the forest. But here at this Indy circuit, it's all a lot of sweeping corners and great overtaking opportunities. So Evan trying to hold on to that position. You can see him taking that defensive line against Robbie Callaghan, but some superb driving here. And even though, we haven't seen a huge amount up the top, we've still seen our fair share of close combative racing between these guys. And Ronan Doherty looks like he has his hands now on 2nd place, but it's still up for grabs for 3rd. Wayne Douglas now carving out a 2nd gap ahead of Dylan McClements, but still plenty of time for McClements to get back into this and maybe pull the likes of Evan Walsh, Robbie Callaghan with him further right.
Yes, could definitely. In terms of the lap times, it is really close. Oscar Mangan, Ronan Doherty, and Wayne Douglas all setting 48.8 the last time round. McClements actually just a tad slower with a 49.1, but it is such a short circuit that is a sizable enough gap, but it is exceptionally close. The reason Mangan's 6 seconds in front is simply because he didn't have to cut through those cars. He is one of the quickest here in the field, but it would be a very close battle to the end if it had been, say, a traditional grid like Heat 1 and Heat 2 is. But that's what makes RTA so fantastic. The reverse grid provides us with a whole load of entertainment. Here's Sean McGoldrick trying to get past Sean McClements for 11th position, and he is going to try and work his way past in towards turn number 1 potentially. McGoldrick, of course, who we seem to have identified as a little bit of a dark horse this season, looking to just break into the top 10. Conor Melia still flashing the headlights. This time it's at Tony Stack in front. If this was real racing, Melia might get in a tad bit of trouble for that, but anything goes in TCRs. Here comes Sean McGoldrick trying to the outside of Sean McClements in towards the right-hander, and in the Duff sponsored car he's not able to find a way past. Dope, he might say.
It's tenuous. That is definitely not the greatest move ever from Sean McGoldrick. I think it's fair to say Duffman does not approve of that move, as Sean McGoldrick manages to get ahead, but yeah, not in the most adequate way. I was just thinking before I saw that McGoldrick incident that I wonder, will the team at RTA begin to rue the fact that they've decided to go back to TCRs, because the stewards are going to be exceptionally busy tonight. so much incident up and down the grid, and so many contentious overtakes as well. I suppose the only benefit to this car is that you can pin stop yourself spinning, you can pin your foot in the throttle and regain your momentum a little bit and face back in the right direction. So sometimes it doesn't cost you too much time, but all the same, it's there's been an awful lot of very clumsy attempts. Even Jacob Hobbs earlier on Rory O'Shea, that was an exceptionally clumsy attempt from Hobbs. So as we see a move down the inside, a little bit of hip and shoulder from Robbie Callan and Evan Walsh, and I think that's fair enough when it comes to the TCRs. That's not the kind of stuff I'd be talking about, but Evans takes it down the inside, and that is exactly what I've been talking about when I talk about clumsy driving. Evan getting the hump after getting the hip and shoulder, and then sticks it into the back of Robbie Callan, and that you can add that to the long list of incidents that the stewards are going to have to mull over. As I said, Evan, I wonder, are they beginning to rue going back to this format, because it's been fairly chaotic these 3 races.
To be fair, long-time Gantry TV viewers may remember round 1 in any championship is usually a mess in terms of driving standards. A precedent will be set tonight for those returning, those new faces, and hopefully we have a bit of an improvement come Donington Park next week. This is also a real messy circuit to start the season at, and hopefully the stewards know that. They do a fabulous job in the stewards room, and that precedent will be set. This man has done a fabulous job in heat number 3, won his championship, left. He's decided now it's time to return and show RTA what might he has at his feet. Oscar Mangan wins his second heated tonight in the first Heat 3 reverse top 8 race off the Motorsport.ie RTA British Touring Car Championship. Amazing race for Oscar, dominated from the front. Ronan Doherty in second. Wayne Douglas will come home in third. Dylan McClemens will hold on to fourth, head of Evan Walsh in fifth. Robbie Callan and Keith Stewart just brings home Brandon McCaughan in 7th, so a solid evening for Keith tonight on debut. Tony Stack will come home in 9th, and Conor Melia in 10th position.
Yeah, there's been some great performances. You look at the likes of Evan Walsh, who's there, Keith Stewart, as you mentioned, even Tony Stack getting into the top 10. That's a superb result for the Kerrymen. Also, who haven't won the... Anyway, you know where I'm going with this. Superb result for him. But Oscar Mangan, he's just... I mean, a very disappointing incident with him in the opening race with Ronan Doherty, but we're already starting to see our championship contenders emerge. Wayne Douglas showing exceptional pace in the TCRs, and between himself, Ronan and Oscar, they are a very, very good bet. As a very late touch there, Simon Wall sends the front bumper of another car off. But yeah, we're starting to see, I think already, Evan, our 3 championship contenders for the season.
I think we are. They were on the pace tonight, and as always, we expect Doherty to be in amongst the experts of the chosen car, and he was once again. But it is Oscar Mangan's evening, and he is your race winner. Had Ronan Doherty in second, Wayne Douglas in third and fourth, Evan in fifth, Robbie Callahan in sixth, Keith in seventh, Brandon in eighth, Tony ninth. Then it is Conor Melia in 10th, out of Sean McGoldrick, Sean McClemens, Rory O'Shea, Dave Collier, Jacob Hobbs, Danny Dempsey, Simon Wall, Emma Dempsey. Good result for Emma there in 18th, ahead of David Prunty and Andrew Murphy in 19th and 20th. And it is Simon Hutchings, Phil Upson, Peter McCann unfortunately losing out in that one, as did Nathan Sweeney. And then Finley Melvin, Kevin Joyce, Darragh Halley not able to complete near enough close or full race distance, and Jamal Gandor unfortunately not able to start. But let's have a chat then with your Heat 1 and Heat 3 winner, Oscar Mangan. Oscar, hello, congratulations. You have decided to return to us here in RTA Virtual Motorsport, and you have returned the way you finished in the Mustang America's Cup with race wins.
Yeah, I decided pretty late to enter this, and I was chatting to the lads, and they were saying, just give it a go. So I'm back, and yeah, these are great cars, and I really like the kind of BTCC emulations. So yeah, overall good fun.
Scrappy racing tonight, and we have to talk about heat number 1, where you got into a little bit of a pickle with Ronan Doherty heading in towards the final sector. Talk us through it from your eyes.
Yeah, I didn't. I apologize to Ronan. That wasn't my intention. It was. I saw Wayne threw it up the inside, kind of from very far back, and he just had a nose in, and I thought he'd sort of back out of it because I didn't think he was alongside enough. But then Ronan came across, and I probably should have backed out of it entirely and just tagged him. So yeah, that was my bad on that one. But yeah, hopefully no more of that going forward.
You didn't let it affect you anyways for heat number 2 and 3 because the pace was absolutely exceptional. Obviously, our viewers from the Mustang America's Cup and those who watch all your other work in iRacing will know that sports cars are traditionally your forte. You're in slightly slower machinery. How did you find the TCR car and your Honda tonight?
Yeah, I like these cars. They produce usually really good racing, and even tonight this track is pretty hard to overtake. And from what I gather on the voice chat, there was a lot of action. So I think going forward they'll be really good fun to watch, and plenty of close quarter stuff.
Championship ambitions then is the answer to that question a simple yes?
I guess so, but I think this one's not going to be as easy as the Mustang. I think there's a huge amount of drivers that are more than fast enough to win, and I think qualifying showed that the gaps were just so small. So I think this will be a good one to watch, and really it'll be a tough one to top.
Oscar Mangan, congratulations and thank you very much for joining us.
Cheers, lads.
Now, for second place for Kevin Galvin, it is Mr. Ronan Doherty.
Okay, Ronan, I'm going to keep this very quick because you're with us pretty much every race. Are you happy?
Yeah, pretty happy. Started 8th, finished 2nd. I knew Oscar was going to take off from reverse grid pole, so managed to get by everyone else. And yeah, it was a bit of argy-bargy stuff, but sometimes when you get a tap, you have to give a tap. So yeah, no, look, I'm happy enough with the result in terms of pace. I'm happy too because Oscar sort of he does the data packs and stuff and VRS for these cars, so he's very good in these cars. And at the end, he seemed to be able to hold on to his tires or his pace way better. But at the start and midway through the race, I pretty much matched him for pace, so I was happy enough with that.
And speaking of that contact, you saw your younger of the cousins, Dylan, get involved, and you were involved as well with Wayne Douglas. So plenty of incident, I think, in that final race. I think it's fair to say.
Yeah, well, I mean, any of it that I seen was just sort of bumping and stuff, and when you give a bump, you have to be prepared to take a bump then, I guess. So yeah, that's just the nature of these cars. Wayne, whenever I got by him, just slid wide, and I put my nose up the inside and managed to get by. So I didn't see anything that happened after that.
All right, well, that suits me, Ronan. I'll probably be talking to you next week, no doubt, because you are certainly up to the pace very early. So we'll catch up then. But Ronan Doherty, congratulations again in your P2, and we'll no doubt talk to you next week.
Cheers, lads.
I was really hoping Ronan would just give me a one-word answer, and then I could just cut the interview there. But I said after him kind of expanding a little bit, I do the same. But yeah, driver of the day, Evan.
I kind of missed the mention of Hederman's marionette wires at the end. I kind of got used to it. It was like part of our routine last season.
Yeah. I mean, it's being slightly blocked by the back bumper anyway, so they're going to have to change the position of it for the next race because it's being obstructed. But yeah, driver of the day, Evan. I am gonna actually my pick would be for your namesake in Evan Walsh, coming back into racing for the first time in this series in quite some time, and did a superb effort in. I think of all the drivers on the grid, he extracted the absolute maximum of what he had on track.
Yeah, my exact namesake, going by the introduction to this stream. Just going off the stream at the mention
Subtle
of it by the
foreshadowing.
stream chat. Yeah, that was good actually, wasn't it? The general consensus seems to be Keith Stewart. We had Jordan Pierce saying Keith Stewart. Chris Cash says Keith Stewart. I have a feeling there's an affiliation there. Jordan Kelly saying Tony Stack, which is a good shout. Johnny Hollywood saying Evan Walsh. So he agrees with you, Kevin. I actually agree with both the Evan Walsh and the Keith Stewart call. But I think for a first return to sim racing in quite some time, I think the man from Clonmel might be the pick.
Yeah, it's a very good shout for Keith as well. I'm sure that if he keeps up the performances, he will feature as our driver of the day in future. But I think given Evan's time away and how well he did in holding off the field behind him, he wins our RTA Gantry TV driver of the day. So that's us for race one. Brands Hatch Indy, we head next week now to Donington Park, which I thought was originally race one, but anyway, not worry about it. So Donington Park GP, then to Snetterton, then Truxton, Oulton Park up north as we head up to Knockhill in Scotland, back down to Silverstone for the only round at Silverstone at the National Circuit, and then back here in Kent, Brands Hatch, that's the longer GP circuit, and that is the 27th of May. It always blows my mind when I look at these seasons and I realize that by the time we come to the end of the season, we're literally almost in another season. So yeah, that will be on the 27th of May, and hopefully we'll have very similar weather to what we've had recently. But my thanks to you, Evan Dalton, as always, for joining me. Remember, you can head to RTA virtualmotorsport.com to get all the updates there, and also do check in with Motorsport.ie for all of your Irish motorsport news. Of course, we've just had the first round of the ICCR at Mondello, so plenty to come out of that. We've spoken about it a little bit already on stream. Next week, you will join us in Donington Park for the second round of the RTA BTCC Championship. But until then, have a great week. Keep the rubber side down and slunk full.